couldn't be more delighted to be in the company of our Compliance Council members. Today with me, Daniel Wood and Marina Olman. I'm so happy to have you here today with me.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So we're going to do a very quick overview of two of the most important sessions that we had today. And we've been talking about compliance. We had a crypto, best trends, and also all of the different updates in reference to that part of the industry with Joe. And then also we had Robin earlier today. Now we have also a US regulation update session led by Marina and Dan. But before going into that topic, we're going to give some time for them to introduce and tell a little bit about their experience in our conference. So Marina, let's share a little bit about you. We have a new audience and we would like to learn about the organization that you're representing and also your participation here on Payments 2023.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Anna. Thank you to CrossTech. Amazing as always to be here. It's always a great experience, not only from the learning perspective and hearing the perspectives of the industry, compliance departments as well, but also just being in the company of so many companies that are just innovating constantly and really are at the top of the game. So my name is Marina Olman. I'm a shareholder at Greenberg Trauring in our Miami office. I'm a financial services regulatory lawyer, focusing on advising banks, fintech companies, crypto companies as well, on compliance with laws, regulations. And I have a strong focus on my practices on BSA, Bank Secrecy Act, anti-money laundering matters. In terms of just my experience and how long I've been participating with CrossTech, I've been coming to the CrossTech conferences for about 5 years now. So I've seen the growth, I've seen how we've developed. It's been an absolute pleasure to see that. I've been part of the Compliance Council, I think, for 2 or 3 years now. So it's been very nice just meeting also leaders in the space, such as Dan, and just having very interesting and challenging and thoughtful discussions also on what's going on, developments on the industry side, on the regulatory side. So it's been very rewarding.
Great. So we're very thankful. Marina's participation has been key to the development, not only to the compliance sessions, but only to the development of position in CrossTech within the different industry members. Marina has been part of our magazine cover, creating articles, creating content. So I think that's something nice, and we are excited to have you, Marina. Thank you so much. Now, giving the floor to Dan Wood, and I would be, I couldn't share more different information in reference to that specific role that Dan has within our Compliance Council. And the floor is yours then, Dan.
Sure. So I'm also an attorney counsel at Pillsbury, Winthrop, Pittman, where I'm mainly on our payments, fintech, and blockchain team. Before going into private practice at Pillsbury, I was a regulator with the state of Texas, the Texas Department of Banking. So I guess my selling point when I'm talking to clients is that I can do the secret regulator handshake when they're talking to regulators, which is great. But I similarly advise a lot of fintechs, financial service companies, banks. I do some privacy work, and just kind of anything that can help a fintech or payments startup. And it's fun. I love it. It's fast-paced, everything's changing, so it's always interesting. I've been coming to CrossTech from its IMTC days 6 or 7 years ago, while I was still a regulator.
Wow.
And so seeing it change has been really interesting and fun, right? Because the industry has been shifting from when I first started coming. I've also been on the Compliance Advisory Council since we started the council. And that's been a really fun and educational experience. I really love talking with the other council members because they're all experts. I learn something new every time we talk. And that's another thing I like about the CrossTech conferences is I learn not just from the panels, but conversing with everyone who are compliance personnel, business folks, sales folks. I learn new stuff every time I come here.
So hearing you, it comes to me two of the different ideas that we had speaking to Robin and Joe. And first, it's the passion, the love that all of you share when you speak, when you have your interventions. I think that's something that it is transmitted, our community feels it, and that's why our different compliance discussions are being held with people that are passionate about the topic as well. And then mention something that it's of great importance, and it's how our conferences and you become mentors of the industry. So we continue to mentor each other, learning from our experiences. And I think that's something great when we feed ourselves with the experience and the background of our colleagues, and understanding that it's something very important. For everyone, our compliance agenda, compliance day, it's built with the help and the advice of our compliance counsel. We had meetings that we review some of the content that we propose, and our counsel is always advising of the topics that we need, and also the participants that can be. So we have a very nice relationship. We want to thank you, for that time, and for preparing with us, for everyone also as well. So last but not least, let's talk a little bit about the takeaways. Your session just ended some minutes ago. So can you tell us about the most important takeaways of that session? Maybe we can start with you then, since you were the last one.
Sure. So one of the big pieces that we talked about is de-risking. And there's last month, the Treasury Department issued this report about de-risking. It's far-ranging. It contains a number of very important strategy recommendations, policy recommendations aimed at Congress, regulators, banks, pretty much everybody who is a stakeholder in the financial services industry. It's too much to summarize real quickly right now, but it's a big document. There's a lot of important ideas, and it also just represents movement, right? We've had problems with de-risking, especially if you're in the MSB space, for a long time now, and this represents actual movement, I think, toward hopefully fixing it.
Yeah, formal recognition of this being an issue. Identifying exactly which industries are being affected by it officially, right, in a U.S. Department of Treasury document, which is important. And then setting forth recommendations that, even though, as we had said during the conference or the panel, even though each of them individually really are not something that we think are going to be earth-shattering and will change the issue that the industry is living with and is having to deal with, but that at least it starts a conversation. And I think the importance, one of the critical aspects that we discussed, is the importance of setting supervisory expectations that are consistent, so that banks essentially get the same messaging and not really piecemeal, and just having that guidance and education is a critical component. And then also a critical component is the education of the MSBs, right, of what the requirements of the banks are and how to best approach them, how to present themselves, and how to have a productive and a long-standing relationship with these banks. And so those are some of the key takeaways, I think. And then we also discussed just basic components of a compliance program, expectations that you think sometimes are so basic that you wonder, well, how are people still not doing this? But truth is, there's some that aren't, and we see it in terms of enforcement actions, which we've also discussed during the panel as well. So I think it was a great panel. We had great feedback from the audience, a lot of compliance officers. So it was effectively a compliance officer discussion forum. While we were panelists, I felt like everybody really participated in a way that, it didn't really feel like we were panelists other than setting the topic.
It was a good conversation.
It was a very good conversation. So so hopefully we'll see more of this, which I know we will. And we'll have more participation.
Great. I think Marina makes reference to the openness, right, or the fluency of that conversation, and this is what happens, right? Our discussion forums tend to lead conversation into learning, have different perspectives, and then go back to sometimes specific examples, right? Interesting to see. So discoveries, learnings, highlights of the compliance world could be also discussed during our CrossTech conferences. And on an everlasting changing industry, it is great to have leaders like you teaching us during your sessions and also participating in the different type of activities we have within CrossTech. So on behalf of everyone at CrossTech, we thank you for being part of the Compliance Council. We appreciate not only the time that you invest, but also your expertise and the willingness always to teach and learn. So come to our CrossTech conferences and then participate in the different workshops or courses that we have. And this time we have Marina Olman and Dan Wood participating in our session today. So I'll see you in the next interview.